Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, the man accused of having set Ugandan Olympic athlete Rebecca Cheptegei on fire and snuffing her promising life out has died. The 32-year-old also fatally injured himself in the horrific attack in Kenya. Also, a group of women with Congolese mothers and Belgian fathers take on the Belgian state. They've appealed an earlier ruling against their case, which accused the Belgian colonial power of persecution by having forcibly removed thousands of mixed-race kids from their parents. And Tunisian media are feeling pressure from authorities in the run-up to October 6th presidential elections. Journalists say that they've lost their accreditation, faced intimidation, even been jailed amidst a crackdown on media. But first, Rebecca Cheptegei's killer has died in hospital. Police say the 32-year-old man, who was in a relationship with the Ugandan Olympian, set the runner alight at her home in Kenya on September 1st. Cheptegei didn't survive her injuries, neither did her attacker. Clarice Fortuné has more.
Iten, Kenya's land of champions. This is a training site like this one that Rebecca Cheptegei used to train. She died after allegedly being set on fire by a former boyfriend. Dixon Diema Mahangach had also sustained serious burns during the attack. He died on Monday. For fellow athletes, his death comes as a relief.
For the death of the perpetrator, I can say justice has been done. Why is that? Perhaps if he could have been alive and taken to court, perhaps the victim would not have gotten justice. Perhaps he would have raised money and get out of police cells and eventually out of jail. And at the end of it all, the victim would not have get justice.
The guy who's done that, it's better that he lost his life, because wherever he would have gone, he would have not lived in peace, because he harmed someone while wanting to take away their rights. If it's matters of the heart, you can leave your lover and find someone else, because love isn't something that can be forced.
Mahangach had suffered over 41% burns following his assault on Cheptegei and was treated in this hospital where he died. It is said that he had attacked Ugandan Olympian Rebecca Cheptegei after she returned home from church with her children. She had just competed in the Paris Olympics marathon. She was 33 years old and is the third elite sportswoman killed in Kenya since October 2021. All victims of domestic violence.
Well, Nigeria's National Food and Drug Watchdog, known as NAFDAC, is warning people of products being sold by popular televangelist Jeremiah Fufeyin. The merchandise is touted as having miraculous properties, but NAFDAC has launched an investigation after members of the public complained. Samuel Okoya has more.
The Christ Mercy Land Delivery Ministries, a church that claims to perform miracles, is at the center of the investigation. Nigeria's National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, says the church is being investigated concerning the sale of some of its miracle products. The regulation agency accused the church of using fake NAFDAC registration numbers to market some of its miracle products in an effort to deceive the public into buying them. The products include water said to have healing powers, a miracle soap that is claimed to be capable of making barren women deliver twins. The church has denied the allegations. The sale of spiritual products by the church highlights the controversies surrounding miracle churches in Nigeria. Lots of Nigerians are attracted to the churches in the quest for miracles to solve problems. But there are questions over the authenticity of the miracles performed by the churches. There are also concerns at the way some pastors make a lot of money at the expense of those seeking miracles. With some Nigerian pastors owning one or more private jets, there are suggestions that some churches have become large businesses that are operating solely for profit.
Well, Sudan's war continues to escalate. At least 31 people have been killed and dozens wounded in the southeastern city of Sennar since a renewed assault by the RSF paramilitary over the weekend. Now, it's been battling the army for 18 months, and both sides have been accused of atrocities amidst a conflict that's cost tens of thousands of lives. The UN Security Council is due to vote on Wednesday on whether to renew an arms embargo for the region of Darfur. But rights groups are calling for a more extensive ban. Our regional correspondent tells us more.
The recently published report by Human Rights Watch highlights that the conflict in Sudan is currently being fought with weapons that are not only newly acquired, but also foreign-made. Now, there is currently a partial embargo, arms embargo on Sudan, but it's only limited to the western region of Darfur. That embargo was put in place a decade ago by the UN Security Council during the 2003 conflict in Darfur. But organizations like Human Rights Watch have argued that today that embargo is no longer sufficient.
This sanctions regime is in many ways outdated because the conflict that broke out in Sudan last year between the Sudanese military and the Rapid Support Forces has affected now a majority of Sudan's federal states. And we found in our research that the warring parties, which are responsible for widespread war crimes and in some cases crimes against humanity, have access to modern, newly acquired equipment made abroad in countries such as China, Russia, the UAE, Iran, and Serbia.
Jean-Baptiste Galopin believes that expanding this arms embargo across the whole country is crucial in order to prevent even more casualties. Since the war broke out last April, countless civilians have been killed, millions have been displaced, and millions are also now facing famine. This Wednesday, UN Security Council members will discuss whether this arms embargo that's currently limited to Darfur will be extended and whether it will be expanded across the whole country. But that won't be an easy task. The idea currently faces a huge amount of opposition, especially from the Sudanese government that wants to scrap the idea of an arms embargo altogether.
Regional correspondent Liv Bizo there for us. Now, the captain of the boat that capsized off the coast of Senegal over the weekend's been arrested. Sheikh Sal reportedly turned himself in after his vessel carrying dozens of migrants capsized on Sunday afternoon. The death toll has since risen to 26. And after 2 days in a Brussels court, 5 mixed-race women are now awaiting the verdict in the appeal proceedings that pit them against the Belgian state. Born during the colonial era to a Congolese mother and a Belgian father, they're looking for compensation from Belgium, which forcibly took tens of thousands of mixed-race children from their mothers and placed them in religious institutions. Dave Keating brings us more.
During 2 days here in a Brussels courtroom, these 5 mixed-race women sat side by side, facing the court, reliving the terrible first years of their lives in Congo while the country was still a Belgian colony. They were taken from their Congolese mothers and placed in religious institutions, as was the rule at the time.
During all these years, we lived in shame, knowing that we were the children of sin, abandoned children, those without identity.
Also present at the hearings were their relatives, who also want answers from the Belgian state.
They need compensation. They have suffered severe harm, and it has remained etched in their memory. Their souls are wounded, and so far, nothing has been done.
And now we expect justice to do its job.
For their part, the lawyers of the Belgian state argued that even if the facts could be considered crimes against humanity today, that was not the case at the time. That's an argument that's disputed by the lawyers of the 5 plaintiffs.
This
is undoubtedly a crime against humanity. The defense of the Belgian state is a defense of denial. The Belgian state does not recognize the reality of the horrible system, the horrible machinery that was put in place during colonization to literally eliminate mixed-race children.
les enfants métis.
A decision is expected on December 2nd. If the Belgian state is convicted, it would be historic, and it could set a precedent not only in this country, but in other former colonial powers.
David Keating there for us. Now, Tunisian media are feeling pressure from authorities in the run-up to the October 6 presidential elections. Journalists say that they've lost their accreditation and faced intimidation. Our team spoke to some of them.
Outside the Elections Authority, journalists demonstrate their support for their colleague Khawla Boukri. The authority revoked her accreditation to cover the election, accusing the journalist of lack of objectivity.
We have to continue to cover what's happening during this election, despite the intimidations. The prosecution of sub-presidential candidates, their obstacles to registering as candidates, the ignored decision of the administrative court on this issue. Even if they take away our accreditations, we will continue to cover all this.
The Journalists' Union said it will file a lawsuit against the Elections Authority because a dozen other journalists have faced intimidation during this pre-election period. The authority did not respond to our requests for an interview for this report. In this atmosphere, journalists are limiting their reporting to basic facts. That's the case at Reshma, an online media founded 7 months ago.
حتى الانتخابات في مختلف المحطات متاعها باين بالكاشف اللي هو ماهوش مانتريسي بها.
This journalist is recording a segment about young people and politics.
The goal is to demonstrate that there has been a problem since 2011. Youth participation is low, so we present figures and I try to analyze the figures.
Reshma's founder, independent journalist Thamer Mekki, advocates explanatory and fact-based journalism.
The last 15 years has been fertile ground for disinformation and for media instrumentalizing politics. So there's a real crisis of confidence in mainstream media. We're trying to make up for that, to overcome it while recognizing it.
Several journalists have been jailed in recent years amid an increasingly controlled media sphere.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now, but thanks for joining us. Do so again if you can. Till then, take care.